All right, everybody. Big treat on the show. Haven't done one of these interviews since the pandemic actually begun, because I don't like having people. Here's a little secret about me, everybody. I don't like having conversations with people over the phone. Even if that's the new virtual phone that we're all becoming familiar with, which is the computer. But I'm a fan of this guy. A buddy of mine in Florida is starting an awesome show series in Boca Raton, Florida, and I thought we'll have him on because he's actually done something interesting to talk about, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Christian Finnegan. Hi, Christian.
Oh my gosh, Patrick, thank you so much for having me.
I like how pretty much my whole intro to you is just shitting on other people, going like, this guy's good enough to have on.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see if things will go back. I mean, because obviously an in-person interview is always better than Skype or Zoom or whatever.
Right.
But I kind of feel like I always love when I'm watching the news and they'll be interviewing some senator or congressman, and they're just talking through their crappy laptop mic, like they don't even have a USB mic. It's like, is this the world now?
Right.
It's like a step backwards.
Well, I was joking about it before we started because it took us a couple minutes to get set up here and rolling and stuff. But and people still don't have it down. They don't understand the lighting. They don't understand, where to place a mic. They don't understand foreground, background, like how to not have your kid or your baby climbing a shelf.
I hope you're not offended that I did not break out the ring light for this.
Look, I'm gonna let it slide today.
I appreciate that. It's very kind.
We can add it in post. Now we have a lot of technology, no. So Christian has a new special that you can stream it anywhere streaming is available, called "Show Your Work." I've watched this. It's for people who don't know, it's not just a stand-up special, and you haven't had a stand-up special in quite a few years now.
I had the last one, I think it was 2014, and then I had an album that came out in 2019, and then this is the first special since that last one. Yeah, 2015. I don't know. It's all a blur.
What I like about it is a glimpse of for people who don't know, you and your wife run QED. It's a space in Astoria for storytelling, performances, comedy, all kinds of stuff. Or was before the pandemic, at least. And so I think it's a cool view into that kind of world, like what happens not only when a comedian's career screeches to a halt because of a global pandemic, but also you're forced with this whole other dynamic of being a small business owner, your wife, and now what the hell do you do? Because I can't imagine rent in New York City is cheap.
Now, I mean, we were fortunate in the sense that we do have a pretty cool landlord, and he was pretty chill about it. I mean, but we did have to pay. I don't think we ended up having to pay all of it.
Yeah, did it? Does anything get forgiven?
Well, at the time, he allowed us to basically pay half rent during the pandemic until my wife was able to get a grant. She got some of that Save Our Stages money. And so then she was able to pay him back for the rest of it.
Was that a New York City thing or a New York State thing?
New York, it's a federal thing.
Oh, okay.
It's part of the rescue plan.
Yeah, I feel like I messed up. I have a lot of comic friends here in Vegas who did the unemployment thing, and I didn't do it. And I did. They got. I mean, I'm telling you, comics who have never toured anywhere in this country were making $50,000 last year doing comedy. It's like, okay, and I still have friends getting this $600 a week or something on some program. God, I really missed out. All I had to do was do some paperwork, but I'm that.
I mean, it's a lot of paperwork, though. I mean, it's and thank God, Cambry, my wife, she's super. She'll go and get into the weeds with that crap and be on some government website and fill out 40,000 pages of shit but yeah, she was able to eventually
like a truffle pig for grants.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah,
she'll find it if it's in the stack.
She somehow found her way into getting a free electric bike.
What?
Just because technically during the pandemic we were selling off at the beginning of the pandemic. We were selling off all the beer and stuff because it doesn't last. And so we were doing deliveries around Astoria. If you wanted because Astoria, Queens was the epicenter of the epicenter when it first started in 2020. It was this is really where it was worse. And so people literally weren't leaving their apartments for a few months. And so we would drive around and just, deliver them cases of beer and crap like that. And somehow my wife managed to finagle. There was some, I think, Specialized, the bike company, was, had given away like 1,000 free electric bikes, and I think she's ridden it twice, but she
Right.
managed to dig that up.
Let me ask you this before we talk about the special a little bit, and I hope this isn't too personal. But coming from a fat guy who's a formerly fatter guy, you pulled. I remember watching your. When did you shoot your half-hour special? Your
The Comedy Central presents.
Yeah.
That would have probably been 2004.
So I started comedy October 2003. So of course religiously watched all these specials. You pulled like the Chris Pratt of the comedy world. You were this schlubby guy.
I did.
I'll never forget the first time you came through and I saw you and I was like, who is this chiseled leading man of comedy?
Dude,
now
a lot of good
transformed from you and Eddie Gosling are the ones who pulled it off, I think. like dramatic.
It was dramatic. It was crazy how quickly it happened. And then I managed to keep most of it off for about 10 years. And then between the pandemic and I had heart surgery a few months ago. And between the two of those things, a lot of it's come back.
Yeah, I lost 115 in 2016 and I've managed to put almost half of it back on.
Yeah.
Just because it's just food everywhere.
But it is crazy. And you know this from when you are losing a lot of weight. At a certain point, it's just coming off. Like you're not even necessarily, once that motor gets started, your metabolism, it's like it just all of a sudden.
Well, I don't know how you do. I usually do the no carbs thing. That's how I find it just melts off quickly. And I think once that fire switches over from sugar to fat, you can't stop losing. Like, and then it becomes such a reaffirming thing to you that it makes it fun and easy to like, hey, I'm losing 3 pounds, I'm losing 4 pounds a week. Like it makes it worth it. When you know that
period,
results.
There's a period I refer to as zero gravity where like you've spent a few months like kind of making your life miserable trying to lose weight or whatever. And then, your metabolism fires up and you're doing well. And then all of a sudden you can kind of go back to eating a candy bar every once in a while and drinking a few beers. And it's not really having an effect on you yet because your body hasn't turned back yet.
Yeah. And
that's what I refer to as zero gravity. That's like the perfect period of time.
Even every 2 weeks I'd plateau or something. I'd order a pizza and just house it.
Yeah.
And then just get right back on the diet immediately. And I swear to God,
that's got to be what my 2022 is about.
Throw kindling on the fire, though. Like I would start losing weight again. It was crazy. Because I think it tricks it lets your body know, like, hey, I'm not never going to give you this crap again.
Right.
You will get this again. It's okay. It's
But yeah, I'm 48 now, so it's like I don't know whether I have another one of those in me. It's like my goals now are much more limited. It's like I would like to be able to wear the clothes that I own. Like that's really the beginning, middle, and end.
The non-Costco clothing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Let me ask you this because you talk about it in the special a little bit. You said you're 48. I just turned last week. I turned 42.
It only gets worse.
Yeah, and I haven't even started graying yet. Like literally just started graying. So I've been a little spoiled. My beard shows it more. But you talked about this parable I've never heard of, the two wolves.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Positive wolf, negative wolf thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot to this as I've gotten older. Like I've kind of just had to readjust what happiness is. Because you talked about it a little bit, like you've decided to be happy.
Yeah,
there's some truth to that, right? There's some truth to that. Because
I think so. I mean,
at some point you have to adjust, recalibrate what happiness is, right?
Yeah, recalibrate what happiness is, and just decide that you are. It's and granted, this is advice I give to myself because I don't follow it. Like I wish that I stuck to my own advice more, but I do think that if you wake up and if you just literally smile a lot, you will be happier. I think that you can kind of trick your own psyche if you just decide like things are great. All of a sudden, what do you know? Things actually do feel a little better.
Yeah, I mean, if waking up is the beginning of a baseball pitch or something like that, then yeah, you're controlling the trajectory of it. You can set it off in the right direction. Maybe with some small action. But then what I also found interesting was you do this positive wolf, negative wolf thing, and the negative wolf, I find the more intense I get about being happy and learning how to be happy with where I'm at and readjusting expectations and things like that, I also, the negative side gets more intense. And I think this is what, when people get like a grumpy old man, kind of a trope, is it just that like, no, I know what I like now and I don't have time to put up with things I don't like. So you do become this more intense, less time, less tolerance for bullshit.
Yeah, well, you definitely suffer fools less, or you're not as inclined to just pretend to enjoy something that you're not enjoying because you're like, life is short.
But do you find that they grow? That they grow in proportion? Because I find that like I'm a much happier person, but I will fucking turn on you harder and faster than I ever would have earlier as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I guess so. I guess maybe what you're talking about is a degree of engagement. Do you know what I mean? Like the more you're actually living in your moment, the happier or angrier you're going to be.
I gotcha.
As opposed to kind of living in a fog, which is definitely what I slip into, of just kind of being like, everything's whatever, I'm just gonna not get too high.
Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. It's not only the opinion and the emotion attached, but do you choose to engage with it?
Yeah. I mean, that's
so you let the kids play on your lawn. You don't care.
If I had a lawn, I would definitely let the kids play on it. The lawn is owned by the building, but.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. I was just interested where you come down that as someone who's a little older, because I do just find that both of those things I find increasing in my life, that the vitriol and the euphoria, if that makes sense.
What I find hard, and that, and I don't know if you feel this as a comic, but it's hard. I was just talking about this with this guy, Pete Dominic, who I do his podcast once a week. It's mostly about news and current events and stuff. And he's a really nice dude, but he's kind of one of those just preternaturally positive dudes, like he's always like sees the day kind of guy. And I wish I had that. But the problem is that kind of goes against what makes my brain work as a comedian,
right.
Like, a lot of my comedy comes from the things that bother me, and so to try to ignore those is, well, would I ever write anything again?
Right.
Maybe that's just an excuse, but that's
so maybe
the
it's a self-fulfilling,
Yeah.
I have this conversation with my girlfriend a lot where I'll just tell her like, I don't want you to fix it. I want to complain about this. I'm just complaining about it. Like. There's no just
sit there and let me just cascade my bullshit on you.
This just move through me. I don't need you to soothe me or fix it. This is just an emotion and a feeling and a point of view. And by the way,
usually the cliche is usually the opposite. Like, a wife saying to her husband, like, I just want you to listen, like, don't try to fix me or whatever. It's like, but I guess if you're a comedian, then those rules get reversed.
We're the babies. We're the giant babies.
For sure.
What was it like making this in the middle of Comedy Dynamics did this? I imagine you reach out to people, or were you trying to do it yourself? Or
we did it. I did it myself. I honestly,
really? Okay.
It is what I've learned about myself over my years on this earth is that if I don't have if I don't have a deadline, then I won't do anything.
Right.
I really won't. And I had to give myself something to look forward to during the pandemic, and for a while, as you can see in the special, for people who haven't seen it, it's like 80% stand up and about 20% a doc, like you were saying. And we were doing shows in the backyard right when people were able to finally sort of come out of their shells again, like in the summer of 2020.
What were the regulations like? I think
everything had to be 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Everybody had to be masked at first, although outside it started to become kind of nebulous.
Right.
And but I mean, it wasn't making us money, but it was just something to keep our brains occupied. But I started to get like a vibe that like, oh, I think the city is going to come down on even the outdoor shows. And I thought to myself, I had an hour that was just kind of starting to take shape before the pandemic happened. Right. And I thought, fuck it. I have friends who are really good at this. My friend Victor Vernato, who directed, in my opinion, the best looking comedy special of all time.
Does he still do comedy?
Occasionally,
because he was for people who don't know, he was a very funny comic back in the day.
He's a very funny. Yeah, he's very.
And now
funny.
he's doing a lot of educational stuff that super benefit if you're a comic or in the art space. He does a lot of educational stuff now.
Yeah, and he's just a great filmmaker and a really creative dude. And he and my friend Steve Rosenthal had directed this special a few years ago that I was a part of called Tell Your Friends. And in my opinion, it's the best looking special I've ever seen.
Right.
And so I said, like, hey, would you be interested in doing this with me? And so I just sort of fronted all the money myself, and we shot it. And then we decided, hey, why don't we shoot some doc stuff and see if there's any there. And then, there's some sort of graphics. There's a graphic element to the special where there's like writing on the screen and stuff. And so it ended up taking a lot longer than we had intended. I was kind of hoping that it was going to be out by the end of 2020. Right. Well, it came out in October of 2021.
Right.
But then we shopped it around, and we ended up going with Comedy Dynamics, and so they were able to, kind of take the ball from there.
Yeah, it's cool. It looks great. It's tough people think it's easy to make these backyard kind of places look good on camera, but
it's hard.
It takes a lot to make something shabby chic. I just tried to hang up these Edison bulbs on this pergola in my backyard, and it looks like a tornado came through and like did it. And by the way, I'm sitting there trying to convince myself like it's supposed to look haphazard and random, but it's like, no, there is a method to that, to getting it to look
for sure.
And I think it looks great. And people should check it out. Again, the special is called Show Your Work. It's on Apple TV,
Amazon Prime, Apple TV,
YouTube, Vudu, all these things I'd never even heard of.
Slibbity Bibbity and
Google Play, all that stuff. You can see it. Show Your Work. You also have a show coming up, and Dave will kill me if I didn't mention it.
Oh my God, he would murder you.
Comedy on the Green, November 26th. Is that
Black Friday, baby.
Friday night. Tickets are available at Ticketmaster. It's Comedy on the Green. He started doing these shows. I think he's done one. Who did he have?
I think he had Kurt Metzger first.
Oh, Kurt Metzger, and then he's going to have Mike Vecchio, and I believe it's good to see white males getting a chance.
Finally, we're getting our due.
Getting back out there and having an opportunity. Anything else you wanted to plug or talk about?
I would just say if you're coming through New York or whatever, I would encourage you to maybe check out QED Astoria. That's QEDAstoria.com.
So let's talk about what's the status with that. Obviously this was a year ago, the special.
I mean, we're open and we're doing shows. It's going fine. It's just it's a little hard, and there was that sort of COVID interregnum in the spring where it seemed like everything was going to be fine.
I was there. Last time I was in the city was August, and it was the week before you had to have the Vax cards to get into the restaurants. Mm-hmm. And so I was going around doing shows and stuff. It was great. It felt like, it was a little slow. It was slow.
Yeah. But I'm talking about like in May, it was fucking hopping. All the shows were packed because it was kind of this just like, we're out. We're finally like,
that's like when
Delta hit.
When I booked everything and everybody was like, yeah, come back, man. They're great. Everything is great here. And then I get there in August and it's like, it was, first of all, it was swampy and gross. It was right after all those hurricanes came through. And, and I was just like, get me back to the 100-degree Vegas weather where it's at least dry.
Yeah, I mean, so it's fine. Like the weekends are fine, but like the it's hard. I think my wife actually brought it up. It's like if you're working from home now, the idea of like showering and putting on pants to go to a Wednesday night comedy show is just not.
Yeah.
Appealing,
I've been opening shows for a month saying like, thank you guys for coming here. Like that, the fact that you put on shirts and pants and then didn't immediately go time for bed, and made it out of the house is a monumental. Yeah, because I think we all feel that. God, I went to Costco yesterday. Speaking of Costco, but like by the time you do that, I feel like I did a marathon. It's all I did was push a cart up and down to get more things for my fat ass to gorge on for the next month.
Mm-hmm. But you had your interaction for the day.
Oh my God. Yeah. I needed a nap.
And so, I mean, we're all kind of fighting that right now, and I think it's going to take the sort of next crop of young college grads to sort of wipe that away. Like, it's not just going to be COVID going away, because eventually there'll be therapeutics and enough where people will, life will go back to not normal, but it'll be something resembling normal again. But I think that people above the age of 30, 35 are going to have a certain PTSD about just going out. I just don't think older people are going to be going out as much as they were 2 years ago. And it's going to take like horny 22-year-olds moving to Vegas or New York or Miami or whatever. Because
there's never really been horny 22-year-olds moving to Vegas. What?
Are there none?
Oh, there's swaths.
I would imagine.
Yeah. So when you say older people, do you mean us?
Yeah. No,
because a friend said to me, a 30-year-old friend said to me the other day, we were working in Oklahoma City, and he goes, "Oh, you want to go to a movie this weekend? What was the last movie you went to?" And I went, Deadpool 2. You know what I mean? And he's like, "Oh, I've met like before the pandemic, like, let's get back to going to movies." And I'm like, I don't think I'm going back to going to movies. Everything is in my living room. I have an 85-inch television. I don't think I need to leave the house.
It's 80% as good as going to the movies, and it's free and easy and all those things.
And piss when I want to piss. And go get a snack. I do think there's some of that'll never come back. You gave me some trauma in your special. You can count the number of times I've been to Catholic Mass in my life on one finger, and it was a midnight mass Christmas. With a girl I was dating in college, and
it's brutal.
I don't understand that culture, if you will.
I grew up in it, and I still don't understand.
Well, I grew up Christian, Protestant, but very different.
Yeah,
very
lazy.
Different. We all believe in the Lord and stuff, but yeah.
My feeling is like, I'm not a religious person, to say the least, but I have a lot more respect for like Catholicism and Judaism, like the ones that still kind of make it a pain in the ass. Do you know what I mean? That any religion that's like easy to be a part of feels kind of like a cop out to me.
Yeah, it feels like that old Seinfeld bit about the Chinese sticking with the chopsticks.
Yeah. Exactly.
They've seen the fork. They're aware of the fork. Yeah. It's like, but yet they persevere.
Yeah. No, you have to get up and shake hands and eat the stupid wafer. And
they want us to know, even when you go to Chinese restaurants, they have forks. So they want us to know that they know about the fork too. Like, oh, we've seen it. Your better apparatus.
I love when you're at like any Asian restaurant or whatever, and they see you using the chopsticks, and then sometimes a waiter will just put a fork on the table. Like, clearly you need this.
Right.
You're not functioning well.
We saw you in parking lot. I can't do an accent. I don't
Please don't.
Do that
Please
anymore.
don't.
Jesus. We'll both get Shane Gillis. Jesus Christ. It's too late for me. I started podcasting in 2005. I have no shot at SNL.
Oh God, yeah.
I did blackface with Nutella in like 2008. So I'm done. It wasn't even racial. I just thought it would be funny. I had some Nutella. I didn't mean it. Okay, this has gotten to a confessional.
I don't know that there's possible. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean the blackface in a racist way.
I meant Nutella face. It's an unfortunate shade.
You just put Nutella on your face.
It's an unfortunate coincidence that the shade of Nutella is a little too Trudeau for my taste.
Yeah, it's not like you were wearing like a tux and tails and singing Mammy while you were doing it.
Right, yeah. That was the week after. Christian Finnegan, show your work anywhere you can rent or buy streaming titles. Also, QED in Astoria, a great little place to watch shows.
Yeah.
You have all kinds of shows. It's not just comedy shows.
Oh, yeah. Comedy, storytelling, classes, all sorts of stuff. And Comedy in the Green, Boca Raton, Black Friday, baby.
Boca Raton, Comedy in the Green, Black Friday. That'll either be, I bet it'll be fun, because you'll have a lot of people home and ready to go out.
Yeah, I think so. I've always had really fun shows in South Florida, so I'm looking forward to it.
And Dave puts together a great show. I saw photos of the first one. It looks amazing. So
yeah.
All right, Christian Finnegan, thank you so much for coming on and talking with me. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Patrick.